Hey guys, it's Megan and welcome back to my channel, The Crafty Quinn. Today's video is everyday, high-end farmhouse decor DIYs with some kitchen decor mixed in as well. I have four DIYs that I'm so excited to share with you, so let's go ahead and get started. So first up, we have the Dollar Tree floral and garden bucket. That's just what I call it. So I'm using the Walmart Waverly chalk paint. I'm using the color white, and I'm just trying to make this look a little bit more rustic than it already is. And I'm not going to put on too much paint. I just want to do one really thin layer because that will really help me when it comes to making this a bit more distressed. So for the painting, I was just using a Dollar Tree paintbrush, nothing special on this. And there's my cat, Marcus. We call him the Crafty Kitty, and he's pretty much been in almost all of my videos at this point. He loves to just like sit there, watch, sometimes help out in his cat way, meaning that he's basically going to steal stuff, and you never know what he's gonna do. But he is so adorable. I always leave that footage in for you guys. So here I'm just taking my P100 sandpaper. That's just the kind that I found kind of nearby, and I just scraped a little bit of the wording. So all of the paint that was on top of the words, I'm scraping that off. I want the black paint that was already on it to show through. So that kind of gives it a little like beat up, rustic, distressed look. So yeah, that's what it looks like when most of the paint is scraped off. So for this, I am taking the Dollar Tree Farmhouse ribbon, and it was actually called Farmhouse ribbon. So I think Dollar Tree's caught on to the fact that we like to make some farmhouse crafts with their decor pieces. So I just glued on the ribbon to the very back of the bucket first. So here is where I'm just hot gluing it kind of like as close as I can get to the very middle on the front of the bucket. I really suck at making bows, so I just kind of, I did it this way so that I could like tie it on there and it's as close to the middle as possible. Kind of tied a knot first with the ribbon, and then from there, once the knot is secure, then I just go ahead and tie a bow. So yeah, I'm really gonna work on making my bows a little bit better in the future, but so just excuse the messy bow process right here. But yeah, that is definitely something I plan to work on for future videos because I like bows, but I tend to avoid them because I really don't do great at them. Which you'll see in a little bit. My bow's a little bit lopsided. Yeah. And there I'm just assessing the damage. So I'm just snipping off the little edges of the ribbon that get a little bit frayed when you cut the ribbon. But overall, I'm actually really impressed with the Dollar Tree ribbons. They're actually pretty high quality. And there I just kind of give up, like, okay, looks good enough. So here I used the Dollar Tree floral foam. I put that in there first, and then I'm using Dollar Tree Spanish moss to go on top of this. And just to give a warning to you guys, if you have sensitive skin like I do, just be careful with this Spanish moss, because when the like little tiny pieces, like it, you know, when you take it out of the bag, it kind of like you get like little tiny pieces everywhere. Well, if those little tiny pieces like fall on your hand, on basically on the, like the top of your hand, and you have sensitive skin, it made me break out a little bit on my finger. So just be careful with the Spanish moss. I don't know what it is, but like I was fine with touching it, like the larger pieces, but if you get like the little like dust of it or something on your hand and you have like sensitive skin, so just be careful, because it was like making me break out a little bit, like little redness on my hand. So I don't know what that's about. So here I'm using the Joanna Gaines boxwood branches, I believe it's called. I've heard people call this like dogwood, boxwood, but I looked it up to make sure. It's definitely boxwood. So I just cut off a little bit of like those branches, and those are like heavy duty branches. Those are like the Joanna Gaines Target branches. And then I'm using the Dollar Tree lavender little, they're like the little lavender pieces, the little lavender flowers. Those come in those like little clay pots, and they're kind of brand new to Dollar Tree. I just saw them at one of like the larger Dollar Trees near my house. And so there's like about 3 of the lavender flowers per little tiny potted plant. So just be on the lookout for that, because lavender is really in right now. So now I'm just kind of combining the boxwood and lavender and putting together this cute little floral arrangement. Yeah, there's a little clay pot. So there's about 3 of the little lavender stalks in each of those. So I grabbed like a bunch of them because that was like the only lavender plant that I saw. So definitely grab a bunch of those, and you can reuse those clay pots too. But like I said, the boxwood stalks that I got from Target, those were heavy duty, so I needed like scissors and wire cutters, and I just had to like bend them a bunch until finally the stalks like broke off. So there you go. There is a Dollar Tree, mostly Dollar Tree floral arrangement, and I'm going to put this on my kitchen countertops like you see here. So you can do that, or you can put this kind of like as like a centerpiece on your table. We have like a farmhouse table in our like living room that my husband built, so I might put this on there as well. And so today's video is actually a collaboration with Savannah from Savvy Crafts with Savannah, and she is the farmhouse queen. Oh my gosh, she has been so fun to work with and meet. So just be sure to check out, subscribe to her channel. If you love farmhouse DIYs, you definitely want to check her out. Yeah, so back to the crafts. So this next one is 2 little cups that I think we got these from like a thrift store or something, but we've had these a little while and I love them, but they're just like the cups are so tiny that like we don't really know what liquid to put in these. So I'm like, okay, these are perfect. So I'm using the Waverly white chalk paint again, and these were definitely some great pieces for our shelves. And so I'm using the Dollar Tree Spanish moss again, and so just like I said, be careful because it may make your hand break out a little bit if you have sensitive skin. I'm not sure why that is, but it's just something I've noticed. But I'm still okay to use it, but just want to put that disclaimer out there. So I made sure to like put the moss in there first because it was just kind of easier that way. I don't know, that's just why I found it to be easier, but so I'm using a foam brush on this, and I'm using the Waverly white chalk paint that I got from Walmart, and just covering it in 1 coat. I only did 1 coat. That's kind of what I like about chalk paint. You don't have to do a lot of coats unless you're working on something where you're trying to cover up words or something. But with this, because it's just these 2 glass cups, you really don't need a whole lot. And I picked these cups because they had some pretty great designs on them. Like this one had kind of like a bunch of diagonal pattern, pattern. And I thought that was perfect because, well, you'll see in a little bit. So yeah, I'm just working to make sure the cup is fully covered, and I actually just take the paint and just cover it pretty much all the way to the top. And I like always get paint on my hands, but I mean, hey, that's just crafting. So I hope you guys like this camera angle. I'm trying out something a little bit different. I kind of do like an overhead look normally, but forward, so it's not really overhead, but I just wanted to do like a different angle where you can kind of see from the side, and hopefully this looks a little bit better than how I normally have things set up. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like I said, I'm just trying things out. I want to make sure I'm giving like the best angle to you guys so you can see what I'm doing. So yeah, once that was completely dry, I'm just taking the P100 sandpaper, and I'm literally just taking the sandpaper right over every single ridge that's sticking out and just dragging it lightly over that. And because the moss is inside, it kind of makes it show through a little bit darker once you start taking the paint off of those ridges. And that was like a really fun process, and you can kind of start to see already like the distressed look as I'm spinning this around in my hands. You can already see the distressed look of like the pattern and everything. And like I said, this is just kind of like one way to make things like look really rustic. Sandpaper is kind of my go-to, and sorry, it's out of frame. I was showing my husband, I think. He was sitting at the table with me, and I was like, how does this look? So yeah, I'm just taking more of that boxwood, just kind of playing around, see which piece works better. And I picked that piece because I noticed the other piece was missing a branch. So yeah, one down. And then I'm just doing the same thing to the other. This one was like a regular little like ball jar actually. And I was like surprised by that because I didn't notice that when we bought it. But this one had some like measurements on the side of it. It said like ounces or something. And so I was just trying out some different things to do with this one. This one actually had kind of more of a farmhouse look because it had this like little like fruit pattern on the front of it. So all of those crumbs I just kind of like put in there because I'm like, I'm not gonna let it go to waste. So I don't know, that's what I recommend doing. And I think I'm having a conversation with my husband here, so apologies for that. So for this little planter, I'm actually going to take I'm gonna scrape it first, and I'm just kind of doing the same thing I did before with the P100 sandpaper, and I'm trying to get the paint off of the words and the numbers that were on this one, because it was really cool that it was like a little measuring cup of some sort. And these didn't come with lids either, but they were just so cute. We thought it was like cute little drinking cups, but these are better in my opinion as planters. So I used a Dollar Tree succulent for the other one. And there you can see the champagne on my countertop that's been sitting there. But yeah, so I love this because I thought it was perfect for like open shelving. And next we have our third DIY. And I'm taking one of those brand new St. Patty's Day signs, and so this one I didn't use any spackle or caulk to fill like the holes in this sign. I actually just covered it up with some ribbon, which you'll see in a little bit. But I don't know why the strings were so hard to get out of this one, but you don't see this, but like I said, my husband was sitting at the table and I passed the sign to him and he got the string out of it for me. So I used like one of those scraping tools and I got the shamrock off of this. And so just be warned, because I don't know what it is with the new signs, but that was a real piece of metal shamrock on this one. And so it was like, it had sharp edges. So I had to use that scraper tool and lift it off and not use my fingers, because I definitely would have cut myself. And so, like I said, that was real metal. I tested it with a magnet. So I'm definitely going to hold on to that and keep it for a later project. So I'm just using my P100 sandpaper and I'm scraping off where that shamrock was, because I want to get it all flat and even. And unfortunately it dug out a little bit more of the sign than I would have liked, but I just tried to sand it down as best I could to try and flatten things out. And so for this, I'm using the Walmart Waverly white chalk paint again. I think I've probably used it on everything. And so for this one, I definitely had to use a bunch of coats of paint. I believe I did 3 full coats of the Waverly chalk paint on this, because those letters were just this like really, really dark green color, and it was really hard to cover them up. But I wanted this background to make sure to come through a little bit, just on the edges, because I really wanted to give this sign the distressed wood shiplap look, which you'll see in a little bit. But yes, definitely needed about 3 coats of paint, because I'm using chalk paint, and chalk paint naturally has the kind of like a grainy look, so it's never like, you know, thick paint anyway. But if you're going to use chalk paint, just be warned that you're going to have to do this a few times. So here I'm using the lines that were already there, but they weren't really showing through that much, and it wasn't enough to give it the real shiplap look that I wanted. So I had to use a ruler, get a little technical, and there's Marcus. So he kind of freaked out because I brought out the tape measure to just make sure the lines were even, and he's obsessed with tape measures. I don't know why, but the noise they make or something just like draws him to it. So anytime we're trying to measure things in the house, we have to hold on to him because he will just attack the tape measure. So like I said, I'm just doing this again on the other line. And so I kind of left a little bit at the edge of the lines that were already there, so I kind of had a bit of a starting place, and I wasn't just starting from scratch on this. And of course he has to inspect what I'm doing too. But I used the tape measure to make sure it was even on both lines, from the lines from the middle to the very edge. So definitely a black Sharpie got the best, I guess, line texture, you could say, of what I wanted. And using a black Sharpie was pretty much the best way to get the lines, I guess, like looking like kind of heavy duty, because a pen just was not gonna work. So I want it to look like that there's like space between the boards, if that makes sense. My cat was being so good for this. I don't know how, but he just really likes to watch the process. So that's how he became the Crafty Kitty. He's my little assistant. So I'm using that farmhouse ribbon again. I'm using my mask tool again to just push down the ribbon, because I've burnt myself so many times with hot glue guns, I can't even tell you. So I had to get something else besides the finger protectors, because those did not work great either. So I'm just wrapping this ribbon around it a few times. And like I said before, I just avoided doing a bow on this. I just tend to avoid bows on things if I can help it, because I know I'm not great at it. There we go. We got a shiplap looking sign. And so I'm using a sticker from Dollar Tree. And so that sticker, it was sitting in a Dollar Tree bag for a couple of days, got a little bent, but it actually still worked great. So now what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of covering up those black lines a bit, because, you know, they are really dark, and they weren't gonna look rustic enough if I just left it like that. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the Waverly chalk paint again, because I just want it to look faded, just really rustic, distressed again. And the reason I'm using my finger was because I just felt like I would be able to get it exactly the way I wanted it to, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things where I just felt like a paper towel wasn't going to work. So I had to go back over it and touch it up with my finger a bit, because sometimes when you're putting the paint on, it would just take the line away completely, and I'm like, well, that's not gonna work. So I wanted it to still be there, but just faded. So yes, that is perfect. So I'm just taking this Dollar Tree sticker, and I loved the rustic look of it already. So I just kind of tried to line it up as best I could with the lines. And the lines were great because they definitely helped me align things better. But I mean, the goal wasn't really to have the lines as, you know, for that purpose. They just kind of ended up that way. So now I'm just covering up the very edges of the stickers with the white paint, because I didn't want the lines, you know, because it's like a sticker, and I didn't want the sticker part of it that are kind of like a bubble around the words. I didn't want that to stick out too much, because I just kind of want it to look like it's been printed on or lasered on or something. So, you know, you do what you can with this. And I accidentally got some paint on on the sticker, on the words. So that's what you see, what I'm doing right there. I'm going back and I'm like, oh, I don't want this covered, so I'm fixing that. But definitely that helped, putting like the white paint around the very edges of the sticker, because it took away a little bit of the sticker itself, and it's less noticeable that way. So now I'm taking the Walmart Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm using my distressing brush. And so the reason I'm calling it my distressing brush is because ever since I used this brush with the paint to begin with, I've just kind of kept using it, and I don't like put the brush in like water or anything. Like, I want the brush to stay dried out, if that makes sense, because it worked out a lot better when it comes to time to actually distress things, instead of like having this brush that's going to give a lot of paint at once. With having this brush dried out, it uses like less paint, if that makes sense. Always want to start out really light on the paint, go as light as you can, because you can always go darker. So it's just better to start out light, and then you can go back over it and just make it as dark as you want. So I always start out with like the lightest fading possible. And I'm not really pressing down the brush very, very hard either. I'm just going very lightly over it, back and forth, with my Dollar Tree now distressing brush. And now you can slowly start to see that it's definitely changing the color of the sign. And I wanted to leave this part in. If anyone out there watching this is a new crafter like I am, is new to distressing things like I am, I wanted you guys to see the process more. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, do you guys like to do things like this? Do you guys like to do some like distressing stuff? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And I did put I am putting this over the words too, because it looks so weird if you don't put this on top of the words, because I mean, it just, you know, has like a white background otherwise, so it makes the words stick out unless you go back and put some of this over it. It just kind of makes it all blend together nice. Definitely got the edges of it as well because I want this to look like a piece of like broken off wood. But also, you know, this like shiplap looking sign. So here's the end result, and I am obsessed with this sign. I think this probably was my favorite craft, but I just love how cute it looks. Okay, so I think this is the very last craft. So this is definitely more of a kitchen piece, as you can tell, because it is a recipe book holder. And this is not a Dollar Tree item, but I am using a Dollar Tree foam brush. So this has sat in our kitchen for a few years, and it's just kind of looked empty, and I didn't really know what to do with this. So I wanted to give this a refreshed look using some Dollar Tree items. So I'm just going through and I'm touching up just some spots that don't look so great anymore because we've had this so many years. I want to say I've had this recipe book holder maybe 5 years. Yeah, so I haven't really known what to do with this thing for 5 years. So it's just been sitting in my kitchen as a kitchen decor piece on my countertop. So I'm just taking that Waverly white chalk paint and just going over some areas where it's maybe faded over time. And I'm just going like super light over it. You don't need, it doesn't need like a whole big touch up. So I'm taking the Dollar Tree jute or twine, and I'm gluing that to the back. Oh, and I noticed some more spots that I needed to actually clean up with some Fantastic. So I'm taking the Dollar Tree twine and I'm just gonna wrap this. I'm gonna start gluing this down and then just start wrapping it around the very top of this piece. So I took a very small sprig of the lavender and of the boxwood that I keep using for my DIYs. And like I said, lavender is very in this year, so I pretty much put lavender in everything if I can help it. So at least it's consistent in my house, but yeah, I guess I'm a little bit obsessed with it. So I just glued down those pieces first, and then I started wrapping the twine around the very ends of those because I wanted to cover that up. So just keep wrapping it a bunch of times. No rhyme or reason for this technique, just covering up the edges of the sprigs. I really love using that tool so I don't keep burning my fingers. So there we go, we are halfway there. So I'm taking that distressing brush again, and of course, right after I've now painted it white, I'm taking my distressing brush and I'm going to make this look even more rustic, farmhousey. I feel like before it was very modern farmhouse, but now I'm kind of taking this a step further and making it more of a rustic farmhouse piece. And I'm not going to go too heavy on the antique wax for this one. That's what you can see me doing right there with the paper towel. I'm taking off a bunch of that because there was just too much on there to begin with. So like I'm doing with the other one, I'm starting out very, very light and then just kind of working my way towards a thicker coat. But I really, since I'm so new to like using this antique wax, I don't like to use a whole lot of it to begin with, just because I guess I'm nervous to like play around with it. But I'm getting braver and braver with every craft, so I will keep sharing my tips as a beginner to that antique wax and just tell you guys what I've learned as I've started to use this more. So definitely every edge of whatever you're crafting is going to catch this wax. So just be prepared for it to like accidentally come out a little bit thicker than you might have liked when it catches an edge. And what's great about wax like this is you can go over the parts that you don't like, and you can just go back with your white chalk paint and just cover up those pieces that got a little bit too dark for your liking, and you can just it's kind of like a, you know, you just play around with it until it gets to the right consistency you like. And there was definitely some spots where I was like, oh, my brush caught this a little bit too much, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fix that up. Yeah, so now that it's like the perfect amount of rustic, now that I've said this word like 15 times, okay, yeah, getting there, almost there. So I'm using these new Dollar Tree stencils. So these are actually the self-adhesive stencils, and I thought that was really cool. I've never used any kind of self-adhesive stencil before, so this was a learning experience as well. And I have to say, now that I've used that, I feel a little bit spoiled, and it's really hard to use other stencils. But it's so great because this Dollar Tree stencil comes with a backing paper, and it says on the directions actually that once you're done using the self-adhesive sticker, just put it right back onto that backing and then you can continue using it. So don't push this down, I guess. Just kind of like with this is just like leave it, you know, don't press down really hard on it, kind of leave it in a way where you can pull up an edge really easily, because you have to remember this is a Dollar Tree stencil, so it's not like highest quality, so you might accidentally rip something. So just be really cautious when you're doing it. And I'm using the Dollar Tree chalk writer pencil. So just fill it in as best you can, because it's like it's a chalk pen, so it's not gonna so it comes out like a little bit thicker on top, but then once you actually start to pull everything up, then it comes out, well, it comes out a really nice layer. And I apologize, you can see so much of my hair in this video. I need a haircut. So yeah, just pulling up the stencil just slowly. And I have to say, I'm obsessed with how this turned out. So I used the little Love and Happiness stencil, and I just feel like it's so modern and cute for a Dollar Tree stencil. And this is the stencil that is not self-adhesive, but when I found this, I was like, oh my gosh, it's kitchen things. I can do so much fun stuff with this one. So I'm really glad I picked up this stencil. And also what's great about this chalk pen is it's not permanent at all because it's chalk. And so it's kind of similar to like I guess a dry erase. And you just can take, you know, water or some chemical cleaner if you want to do that, and just like not like a strong chemical cleaner, but you know what I mean, just like something really easy, and you can just like wipe it all off, and there you go, you can just do another design. So I went all out on this, and I used the apron stencil, the rolling pin stencil, the utensils, the oven mittens. I mean, I couldn't just choose one, they were all so cute. And after not using this recipe book holder for so long with the chalkboard on it, I decided to go a little crazy, went all out. But like I said, I barely use this thing in the last 4 or 5 years, so go big or go home. And there's the end result. And then that is actually where I normally keep this in my kitchen. So yeah, I really think this turned out so cute. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed these DIYs. And if you want to watch more videos, please check out the videos on the left here. Don't forget to subscribe and check me out on Instagram. Thanks, guys.